Super Mario Bros. 2 is, in a word, stupid. No, not the game or games, mind you. They're pretty great. Heck, I might go so far as to call one of them the best of the entire Pixel Mario era. But everything surrounding Super Mario Bros. 2 is incredibly silly. Heck, you might say it's the weirdest game in the whole series, and yes, that includes the lost levels. Everyone and their grandma has heard the story of why this game, originally known as Doki Doki Panic, was brought to the United States instead of the real Mario 2. But one key detail seems to go ignored. Is this even canon? Now, far be it for me to propose some sort of grand narrative Nintendo has been designing since the start. Heck, The Legend of Zelda is the closest Nintendo has ever gotten to creating continuity, and despite a few strong efforts and even printing books, it's a complete mess. Now try that with Mario and it gets even worse. Are these guys from Brooklyn or the Mushroom Kingdom? The answer is yes. Then just the Mushroom Kingdom for about 20 years, then yes again. But that's only if you count the movies and the TV show, and you see, it's stupid, all ridiculous. But the story of Super Mario Bros. 2 is downright baffling. Don't take my word for it, here's the actual intro text. When Mario opened a door after climbing a long stair in his dream, another world spread before him, and he heard a voice call for help to be freed from a spell. After awakening, Mario went to a cave nearby, and to his surprise, he saw exactly what he saw in his dream. End quote. Now, a few things. Mario woke up and went to a cave. Now, don't get me wrong, I've seen Mario in a variety of locations, but he went to a cave? Just some cave? Was he expecting something else? Because it says he was surprised. Why were you going there in the first place, Mario? When did you get so cave obsessed? But wait, it gets worse. Turns out those voices are coming from something called the Subcons, from a land known as Subcon. That's not confusing. And once you free them, we see this shot of Mario dreaming up the entire scenario of the game. What sort of inception is going on in that head of yours, Mario? A dream within a dream. Also, not for nothing, but why were you dreaming about Toad, Princess Peach, and Luigi rescuing the Subcons? Is this some sort of Nightmare on Elm Street scenario? And the Mario gang are the Dream Warriors? Who can say? But you gotta give Nintendo credit for not only pulling off a dream ending, but also a dream beginning. That's gotta be a first. Well, there you go. Everything's been sorted out then, right? Well, no. See, there's another significant problem with the Mario canon. If all of this was just a dream, then why the heck do so many of these characters from Mario 2 keep popping up in subsequent games? Yes, some of the characters that are still seen with regularity first made their appearance in Super Mario Bros. 2, including the egg-spewing Birdo and the mysterious-looking Shy Guys and their projectile-based Snippets. From Mario Kart and Mario Parties, RPGs, and all sorts of crossovers, these characters are firmly planted as Mario-related. Don't believe me? Well, have a look at Bob-ombs, making their very first appearance ever in Mario 2. By Mario 64, they have a whole monarchy of Bob-ombs worked out. Are we to believe that these beings stepped out of Mario's mind and into the Mushroom Kingdom? After all, the first Super Mario Bros. Was all about running through the entire Mushroom Kingdom and encountering all the creatures who live within. Also, the instruction booklet mentions the bricks are actually civilians that got turned into bricks, but don't think about that too much. If living bombs and pink dinosaurs were around, I think we would have noticed. But okay, let's go with the simplest answer and say these characters actually exist independent of Mario's dream. Easy, right? Nope, because if that's the case, where did everyone else go? The team faces off against a plethora of villains, and hardly any of them made the cut going forward. Case in point, Mauser, who might be the single coolest Nintendo character ever created. He's a mouse that wears sunglasses and he throws bombs nonstop. Now, I don't know about you, but next Mario Party, I'd gladly take this psycho over another Shy Guy variation. Seriously, Nintendo, put this guy in a t-shirt or something. What are you doing? We got the Hoopsters, friendly little ladybugs that go up and down the vines and can hurt you. So maybe not so friendly. The way the Phantos chase the heroes whenever they pick up the key is among the first jump scares in games. Trouters are flying fish that players literally have to jump off of. So much for Mario 2 being the easy one. And the prickly Pro Koofu that do have a resemblance to another blue troublemaker Mario would encounter in the 90s. The slithering Colbrats which pounce out of vases and sand. And their big boss equivalent, the Triclide. Again, Nintendo, why are you sitting on these characters? They look so cool. I don't know about Fry Guy or Claw Grip. Maybe they can stay behind. But this brings us to our next mystery. What the heck happened to Wart? The supposed main antagonist of Super Mario Bros. 2 apparently made monsters by using a, quote, dream machine, end quote. I'm sorry, a what? So this is a dream within a dream, and there's something called a dream machine that makes monsters? And the craziest part, you can actually see it. Yep, that thing spewing vegetables that hurt Wart is the dream machine. Apparently it's such a powerful tool, it can create monsters or vegetables. But outside of a throwaway reference in The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, Wart is completely absent from Nintendo going forward. Although that game takes place in a dream as well. Perhaps whatever violence occurs off screen after the subcoms carry him off can explain this. Rest in peace, Wart. But okay, we've made it this far. It's time to finally tell the story of why Super Mario Bros. 2 exists at all. But while we're at it, let's break a bit of conventional wisdom. Super Mario Bros. Was the smash hit of the Famicom and NES. But what to do next wasn't obvious. The concept of the video game sequel was still a bit nebulous. Why not just make another game? What can you possibly do with more of the same game? Anyone who's spent time with Zelda 2 or Donkey Kong 3 will know Nintendo is keen to experiment. But Super Mario Bros. 2, at least in Japan, was a different kind of experiment. What if, instead of spending all that time and effort to create a game as big and bold as the first Super Mario Bros., they simply continued the adventure? Players had been obsessed with beating stages as quickly as possible. Clearly, they wanted a challenge. And this was no secret. Mario 2 was sold to Japanese consumers as a hard game that would upset players. Mushrooms could hurt you now. Almost every single stage involved some sort of perilous jumps. And bloopers had left the water and were now airborne, as well as some aesthetic improvements thanks to the new Famicom disk system. But is it a good game? Kinda. Look, it's totally based on your abilities from the previous Super Mario Bros. It feels like an expansion pack or a ROM hack rather than a full game. Heck, you probably played it as the Lost Levels when it was eventually brought over to the United States in Super Mario All-Stars. And I don't know about you, but most people tend to skip that one. But you know it's a great game? Doki Doki Panic. And its creation is just plain bizarre. The Yumi Kojo 87 was an event centering around the future of entertainment, specifically television and multiple television networks. Nintendo even produced a game for the festival on the Famicom disk system, which would take place between July and August of 1987. But once things had wrapped up, Nintendo still had a problem on their hands. America needed a Mario follow-up, and Mario 2 simply didn't feel like a full experience. So what better solution than smacking out all the copyright material Nintendo didn't own and replacing Doki Doki Panic with Mario characters? Heck, they even brought it over to the Famicom in Japan as Super Mario USA. But one key aspect that gets overlooked is how incredible this game is. Seriously, go back and play what was out in 1988. This game was a graphical powerhouse that did an excellent job at portraying momentum and character expression. Rather than simply jump on enemies like before, now the heroes can hurl dangerous weapons like vegetables at them, or just pick them up and throw them. It's a chaotic sort of gameplay that feels reckless. You're not swiping a sword or throwing a fist, you're ripping the world apart and hurling bombs. And unlike Doki Doki Panic, players could pick a new character between the stages. Now, if all you knew about Super Mario Bros. Was the first few stages, you might not even been aware of who Princess Peach or Toad were. But Mario 2 made an indelible mark on their characteristics going forward. Short and stumpy Toad, floaty and unwieldy Luigi, classic Mario, and the princess who can fly for some reason. Seriously, she might be able to control gravity, because that crown stays on the whole trip. These mechanics have carried through to other games like Super Mario 3D World, but somehow Mario 2 still gets short shrift, beyond a strange Game Boy Advance port which unfortunately decided to lean hard into voice acting. It does not sound good. But outside of a couple of nods in Mario Maker 2, Super Mario Bros. 2 is largely ignored in the Great Mario canon, as somehow a lesser Mario game because of the story of its creation. Others counter this by underscoring the involvement of Mario creator Shigeru Miyamoto in Doki Doki Panic, especially over the Lost Levels. And sure, there's plenty of arguments to be had about how relevant the game is to canon, but it can't be disputed how significant Super Mario Bros. 2 was to the formation of the franchise. Before Doki Doki Panic became Mario, Mario was associated with hard games like Donkey Kong and Mario Bros. Meanwhile, Mario 2 was accessible, fun, and included a cause and effect experimentation that would carry forward into other entries in the series. Don't believe me? Well, plop a kid in front of any of those previously mentioned games, and then give them a crack at Super Mario Bros. 2. No timers, shadow dimensions, less rules, tons of fun. And I suppose that's the big takeaway here. Super Mario Bros. 3 would be the final numbered entry on the NES, and because of that, it's often considered the best. Now, far be it for me to deny the pure bliss that is Super Mario 3, but Super Mario Bros. 2 is hardly a slouch either, and in the deluge of media exposing its creation, it's somehow viewed as a less authentic Mario experience. But personally speaking, I totally disagree. This right here is that old Nintendo magic everyone is always looking for. Mario 2 doesn't just take place in a dream, it plays like one too. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this bite-sized lore. What do you think of Super Mario Bros. 2? Is it official in your book, or an odd detour? Let us know in the comments below. Keep clicking around here on Game Rant, and we'll see you next time.